In 2026, the American bourbon market is more saturated than ever, with hundreds of craft labels competing for shelf space alongside historic giants. While the industry prides itself on strict federal regulations, requiring a mash bill of at least 51% corn and aging in new charred oak, many brands have found ways to cut corners. Deceptive marketing, sourced whiskey masquerading as local craft, and the use of neutral grain spirits have led to a surge in bottles that are essentially bourbon-flavored disappointments. The current landscape is increasingly dominated by label-only companies that possess no stills of their own, instead buying mass-produced spirits and masking their youth with heavy additives or high-concept packaging. For the enthusiast in 2026, the danger isn't just a bad taste, it's a bad investment. As prices for even mid-tier bottles climb due to global demand and supply chain shifts, knowing which labels are drain pours is essential for protecting both your palate and your wallet. Investing in a bottle that relies on gimmicks over maturation is a mistake that can cost hundreds of dollars in a market where true quality is often hidden behind a wall of noise. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. Here is a list of 8 US bourbon brands you must avoid. 1. Why Kentucky Gentleman? The reason: in 2026, Kentucky Gentleman remains a notorious bottom shelf trap that every buyer should skip. The primary issue is that it is not a straight bourbon but a blended whiskey, containing roughly 49% neutral grain spirits. This massive dilution results in an incredibly thin, watery mouthfeel and a profile dominated by chemical sweetness and ethanol burn rather than the rich oak and vanilla expected of the category. Critics frequently note a total lack of aroma and a boring palate that offers no complexity. Even as a mixer, the harsh alcohol notes tend to pierce through, making it a poor choice compared to similarly priced straight bourbons like Evan Williams or Very Old Barton. 2. Why Hayes Parker? The reason: Hayes Parker is a textbook example of why the word straight on a label matters. In 2026, this brand is frequently called out for its lack of aging and artificial flavor profile. Because it isn't labeled as a straight bourbon, it hasn't met the minimum 2-year maturation requirement, leading to a raw, green whiskey taste that is masked by an overwhelming, cloying sweetness. Many drinkers describe the flavor as artificial caramel or syrup rather than the natural notes derived from slow wood interaction. It lacks any semblance of craft or depth, often serving as a cautionary tale for those who assume all Kentucky-labeled spirits are high quality. 3. Why Calumet Farm Small Batch? The reason: while Calumet Farm produces some high-end releases, their lower-tier small batch offerings are often cited in 2026 as overpackaged and underdelivered. The brand is a primary target of the fancy bottle rule, when the glass and labeling look like a $100 spirit, but the liquid inside tastes like a $20 one. Enthusiasts often find the flavor profile muted, unbalanced, and remarkably short on the finish. For the price point, which often sits in the $40 to $50 range, you are essentially paying for marketing and a pretty shelf presence. In a year where value is king, Calumet's entry-level bottles fail to justify their markup when compared to workhorse bourbons that punch way above their weight. 4. Why Hudson Baby Bourbon? The reason: Hudson Baby Bourbon has long been a polarizing figure, and in 2026, the consensus among serious drinkers has largely soured. Distilled from 100% corn, it often carries a heavy, youthful corn chip or popcorn flavor that lacks the balance provided by secondary grains like rye or wheat. Furthermore, the small barrel aging process used for many Hudson expressions can lead to a wood juice effect, where the spirit becomes overly tannic and bitter without developing the deeper, mellow sugars of a traditionally aged bourbon. Despite its premium pricing, many find the flavor profile to be unrefined and overly aggressive, making it one of the most frequently regretted purchases for new collectors. 5. Why Terrasentia TerraPure brands? The reason: in 2026, any brand using the TerraPure ultrasonic aging process is generally a red flag for bourbon purists. These brands attempt to use technology to fast-forward the aging process, claiming to remove impurities in hours that usually take years in a barrel. The result is almost universally described as plastic-like or chemically off. These spirits often lack the color, body, and complex esters that only time. 6. Why Rebel 80 Proof? The reason, Rebel, formerly Rebel Yell, is a historic name, but its standard 80 proof expression is widely considered a skip in 2026. As a wheat bourbon, it should be smooth and creamy, but the 80 proof version is frequently described as watered-down ethanol. It suffers from a dual identity crisis. It manages to be both thin and harsh simultaneously, with an impressive amount of ethanol burn for such a low proof. While the Rebel 100 version has earned some praise as a budget winner, the standard 80 proof bottle is often seen as a remnant of an era where quantity was prioritized over quality, offering little more than a one-dimensional sweetness that disappears instantly. 7. Why Kentucky Tavern? The reason, Kentucky Tavern is often the cheapest bottle on the shelf, and in 2026, it serves as a reminder that you get what you pay for. Bottled at the bare minimum 80 proof and often found in plastic handles, it is frequently described as tasting like water and plastic. While it is aged for 4 years, the high degree of dilution and potentially lower-tier barrel selection results in a muted profile of soggy cereal and faint vanilla. Even for the most budget-conscious shopper, there are straight alternatives for only a few dollars more that offer significantly more character. Kentucky Tavern is the quintessential rail whiskey, fine for a high-volume dive bar, but a waste of space for a home collection. 8. Why Bibb & Tucker 6-year? The reason, Bibb & Tucker is a frequent entry on most disappointing lists in 2026 due to its distinctive and often off-putting flavor profile. While the bottle design is stunning, the liquid inside often features notes that enthusiasts describe as scorched molasses, rubber, or even chlorine. It is a sourced bourbon that often struggles with consistency, leading to a love-it-or-hate-it reputation where the hate side is growing. At its premium price point, the lack of traditional bourbon sweetness and the presence of these funky, chemical notes make it a high-risk purchase. In 2026, many drinkers prefer to put that $50 toward a more reliable, distillery-owned flagship rather than gambling on a brand that leans so heavily on its aesthetic. The lesson for 2026 is clear. Transparency is the most valuable ingredient. As the market continues to correct itself, the brands that rely on fancy bottles, high-tech shortcuts, or deceptive blending are being left behind. Before you spend your money, look for the word straight, check for a clear age statement, and ensure the label tells you exactly where the whiskey was distilled. In the world of bourbon, a beautiful bottle is rarely a substitute for time, oak, and honest craftsmanship. Ultimately, your selection process in 2026 should prioritize the 3 T's: traceability, time, and tradition. As industrial-scale shortcuts like ultrasonic aging and sourced blending become more prevalent, the true value lies with distilleries that manage their own grain-to-glass process. By avoiding the gimmicks of high-concept marketing and focusing on the verified integrity of the spirit, you ensure that your collection remains an authentic celebration of American heritage rather than a graveyard of overpriced glass. In this golden age of whiskey, the most refined palate is the one that demands honesty on every label.